let's kick things off. Why don't you tell us, what is Idea Lab Kids?
Sure. So Idea Lab Kids is an after-school STEM franchise, and we started our journey in 2010. We started as a brand. We started a couple of our own company-run stores and locations, and we saw such a great need for after-school programming in the STEM plus arts space. And that's what led into us creating this franchisable concept of this brand in
Hmm.
2017. And we started with our first franchise location in Austin, Texas.
That's so cool. Now you guys, well, the company was founded in 2010, so you guys were at it for about 7 years before you franchised the concept, right?
That's correct. Yeah, we spent a lot of that time, running our own stores, kind of perfecting the brand. And a funny story there is that we actually, our first location was out of a Pump It Up rental or inflatable.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
just to see if there was even demand for it, and we had a line out the door for parents interested in these classes. So when we first started, we were doing parent child classes, and then that led into us realizing what a great need there was in the after school space. And I think we see that right now, Frank. All the jobs that we see around us are in the STEM fields, and the need to educate our children in those fields or expose them to STEM is even larger today, if not in the past as well.
Right. And the explosive growth of AI is just going to increase the demand for positions in STEM.
Absolutely. I don't know if anybody who's listening to you has their kids do this, but my kids are using AI, and it's a part of now their school learning curriculum where they're learning on how to use it in the right manner as well.
So franchising back in 2017, when you came on as a co-investor, and then you became president in 2019. Tell me a little bit why franchising became the right move for the expansion.
Yeah, so maybe we'll unpack that story a little, Frank, with my own personal story. I've been a franchisee of a different brand, a different children's brand, and I had run four of my locations for about 8 years. Grew one of my locations to be the top performing in the nation. And really, I mean, franchising is for somebody who's never started their first business. That was exactly what the shoes that I was in. I looked to franchising, right? There's an existing business model, there's a brand name to go with it. So with that type of a journey for me personally, being a part of this franchisor brand that was young, that was just starting the franchise, absolutely made sense. And more than that, really, it was even a personal story for me where with my own kids, I wasn't seeing enough of hands-on STEM learning in my children's school, in the after school program. And that was making me kind of look out for other programs that we could, enrich their learning with so that they could be exposed to hands-on STEM learning. And I have a girl and a boy, so you'll hear me talk a lot about gender differences too, because
Mhm.
I do believe a lot in equality for children in general. And I think I see that with my own kids is, the girl's not as interested in STEM, but the boy definitely absolutely is. So, I keep pushing her even more.
So you've been franchising now since 2017, and there's 17 franchise locations from what I understand.
That is correct. Yes.
Now, you gave me a little background before. Out of the 17, you've got, let's see if my math is right, we have 12 in the US and 5 in Canada.
That is right. Yeah. Canada was a surprise to us. It just started happening very organically, where we had area developer come and approach us. And so we have a greater Toronto area developer who grows that market for us.
Mhm.
And then there's been a lot of interest in certain other parts of Canada as well. And with Canada and the US, we've kind of got a very similar education system. So the after school program does really well in that space as well.
Now, I understand there's other franchisors in your space, but I'd really love to learn more about Idea Lab and how your business is unique.
So, something that is very unique to us is we've spent a good part of the last couple years, mainly during COVID, where we tried to strengthen our franchises by supporting them with better curriculum. And when I say better curriculum, what we did was we looked internally and we kind of built an internal platform for our franchisees that can be used literally by anybody to teach a hands-on STEM lesson. So we have a platform which is video-based. It's called STEAM On Demand. And that platform gets used by our franchises. So these are 10, 12-minute long videos, 15 minutes even, that get played in the franchise locations, and anybody could follow along with these. So literally, Frank, you could walk in to an Idea Lab location, follow along with these videos, and teach a hands-on, meaningful STEM lesson. These lessons they translate to be about an hour-long session. So typically, a child comes in the after-school program, they get homework help, they get some downtime, they have a snack, and then they work on one or two hands-on STEM projects, just depending on what the facility is doing on that day. So the videos really help with the staffing resource issue that we're seeing right now, overall, I think nationwide and maybe even in Canada,
Sure.
where our franchisees can hire a high school student or even somebody in college and arm them with this tool to teach hands-on STEM lessons. So that is something that I believe really sets us apart, is really strong curriculum base. When you as a franchisee come in, you want to be able to be supported with the right curriculum and content, because that's what makes you stand out in the market out there.
Sure. And there's got to be quite a bit of pressure, though, on you as the franchisor to keep updating the curriculum, because technology, it never stops changing. Tell me about how you guys adapt and how often you're changing the curriculum.
Always. That would be the answer to that, Frank. And I think you mentioned right at the start as well, AI, right? So we are leaning in on AI enhanced tools and trying to create AI enhanced quizzes, assessments, games that we're adding on to our platform. So now onto that video lesson, you can add on another possibly whole hour as a teacher, where you could have quizzes, crossword puzzles, things that you could do with a child in your after school program.
Right.
Here, you're not only just growing the child while they're having fun, but you're also sending home resources. Some of our crossword puzzles are PDF versions. They can even go home with the child, so the child can get to continue to work on them. And I don't know about the other parents out there, but I know my child always shrugs when I said, "What did you do in after school?" I don't get much of an answer.
Exactly.
So here you actually have a tangible, hands-on project that comes home. You might even see some of these assessments, quizzes, things that they worked on during their after-school program.
And the kids are having fun, and they don't realize you're really teaching them something.
You absolutely are. And one more point to add there, Frank, would be STEM is, with STEM, what we're doing is we're growing the leaders and innovators for tomorrow. That's truly, if you go to our website too, that's something that we truly believe in. And we want to give back to this next generation. And that's the way we do it, is through these hands-on lessons. And we've got all types of learners at our facilities. Some are hands-on learners, some are maybe concentric learners. So just depending on their learning style, this is something that usually works for everybody.
And who are teaching the kids generally? I think you mentioned it's like high school students and is it college students as well?
Depending on the state, definitely depending on what the regulations are in those states, but college-going students, high school students, whoever the franchisee can hire, and arm with these tools and training tools that we've created on the franchisor site to teach these lessons. And again, it would really depend on their state requirements as well.
But the beauty of it is that you've created a curriculum that's so tight in teaching them through video that a high school or college student can teach them. And at the end of the day, a little kid's going to want to learn from a bigger kid than learn from you or I, right?
That is very true. Yeah. They look at the older kids as mentors, right?
Yeah, of course.
There is a lot of learning that happens there naturally and organically.
Yeah. So I'm curious about how you got started in franchising. Did you guys seek outside help? Or I know, because you said you were a franchisee in a prior life. So I really kind of want to hear about kind of the birth of the franchise side of the concept for you.
Yeah. So right from the start, we knew when those company-run stores had demand in terms of lessons and classes. There was interest in coding classes, cooking classes, just art classes, anything in the STEM and STEAM fields, that we knew that this was something that could be replicated and franchised. I will say one thing with franchising is there's a lot of compliance. So, we spent a good part of maybe a year and a half perfecting our franchise disclosure document, coming up with everything that needs to go in there, creating the operations manual and things like that. All of the things that you need to do as a franchisor. And the help that we received at that time, we had advisors, and we also had a board at that time, which we continue to believe in, and we surround ourselves with industry experts in the field. We actually also have somebody who used to be the owner of Pinot's Palette as one of our advisors at the company right now. So we surround ourselves with just experts who are able to help us navigate that space.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fiume, or Emerging Franchise Group, LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.